So using the muscles in the lower back to thrust the hands upwards. And then try and activate the muscles in the belly to start pulling the hands down. Hands out, palms facing up, and turning the head. And just making loose fists and turning. And then opening the hands, palms facing down. And now tipping. Just trying to get the bottom hand on the floor and the head looking up the raising arm. And then just back up And the hands round, clasping the hands, pulling the shoulders right back and rotating the head. And winding it down. And then clasping the elbows behind. And just leaning forward, so going down the middle. And we'll do 3 of these. Just get deeper each time. And go to prayer. And then just placing the left hand on the left knee. And just feeling how the leg, almost like it sort of fills up, it becomes more solid. And the right hand. So you can feel that touch coming all the way up. So it's as though you're holding your sacrum through the legs with your hands. And then just bring both hands onto the right knee and leaning down over it. And transferring the other side. So what we want to do is just basically just bring the hands up into prayer like this, but really by using the muscles in the lower back. So like you're throwing your head back and arching your back, and that lifts the hands. And then it's like you tighten the belly just a little bit to start the hands coming in. So sense that everything that I do with my arms is generated from here. So arching my back to lift the hands, pulling the belly in to bring the hands towards the heart and together, and then just relaxing and rising up, becoming long and vertical again. So arching back, belly a little bit active, and then just like coming back to neutral as you bring the hands down. So it's just a breathing exercise really, but using it to produce this prayer shape. So one more set. Lower back strengthening, belly tightening. This is like when you tighten the belly in the right way, it sort of pulls you together. And then here, it's like I've got that area activated now. Now I can just relax. And so when we're sitting like this, then obviously, the attention is here. It's with the Dan Chen. When we're like this, or like this, so the way the Indians often pray, then we're with these other centers. So it's interesting with the Indians, the way they meditate, you very rarely see them sitting like this. If they've got the arms down, it's normally like there's some version of wrists on their elbows, or they're like this, or even like this, And so a lot of strength in the lower back. The problem with having the hands down here is it does tend to make the posture slump. So it's the strength here that's all important. And we also want bum in, rather than it being a positional thing, rather than me just repositioning my sacrum. What I'm actually doing is strengthening these muscles, and that will pull my bum down, but it will also lift this. So bum in is a strengthening of the posture rather than simply a repositioning of its parts. Okay, so just feeling this. Here you've got this real strength here, and you've got a tightness here that's supporting, stopping the lower back from getting too strong. So the main thrust is upwards, given you have something solid underneath you. So for the Indians, the spine, they liken it to an antenna, like a radio transmitter and receiver. So the spine is transmitting energy, messages up to the sky, but also receiving. And just imagine just how strong this has to be to keep it erect, but also to keep it open, to keep it transmitting. And just down into the fetus. Separating the feet, sitting down between them. And then either fetus again or just leaning back. Just trying to stretch the quads. And up. Pulling the knees sort of up and away from each other. Just trying to get the whole lower back flat on the ground. So let's try the one where we twist. So one leg down and then just pulling the other knee across that side, turning the head the other way. Then back up. And the other side. Let's try this different version. It's the same exercise really, but so instead of letting the leg straighten down, just hold. So if it's your left leg, you're going to straighten. Just hold the foot with the right hand and pull it towards your buttocks. And then with the other hand, roll the knee down. So it's the same thing really. It's just a bit tighter. Ooh. You can really pull with the hand, the one that's pulling your heel towards your buttock. And then releasing. And it just takes a bit of practice, this one. Because you're sort of more together. And so you can pull a bit harder. Really feeling the lower back just flattening out. And the sumo squat. So sort of sitting on your heels. So my feet become extensions of my sitting bones, like little legs. Again, just really keeping a strong lower back to give you this feeling of being vertical. And then let's just bring the hands up. Be careful. And out. And then just a little bit of the peripheral vision. So keeping the eyes fixed ahead. and then up again. And then just trying to come up. Just trying to establish the roundness in the legs, the openness in the hips and outside edges. Pulling with the leg. Yeah, so when you get it well, it's a real sense that something else is moving you. It's not your normal agency that's moving the body. So in Tai Chi, we use the turning to move the arms. So it's not the arm moving like this, independent. It's my whole torso moving, and the arms feel very different. Then you can really very much feel the air that they're brushing through. So when we're using the legs in this sort of pulling away, it's the same sort of feeling. So it's not me moving the body, not in the normal way. So when I push, basically you're compressing something. So the joints get sort of squashed, which is good for them in a way, because it sort of stimulates them to try and fight back. But when we're pulling, basically everything's being pulled apart. And I want to feel that all the joints are being pulled apart. And I think it's that gives it this strange feeling like the movement is coming from somewhere else. Okay. And now let's just bring the feet up and off the heels. Yeah, so we just want to appreciate just what a radical shift it is to be off your heels for any time. You really do become a different human being, a new way of being human. When the heels are off the ground, there's very much this sense that you're sort of pulling yourself down all the time. Whereas when the heels are down, there's very much a sense that you're pushing up all the time. So first of all, just moving from side to side by pushing the chair. Obviously, you can't push too hard, otherwise the chair would slide. So it's very much of the mind, this, of energy, of intent. And it should have that same quality that the movement is not coming from you. I mean, it is, but it's coming from your interaction with the chair rather than your interaction with the ground. So through your arms. And then just come off the heels. I mean, you can put the heels down if you want, but the weight doesn't go into them. And just see how everything changes. Basically, you just become more awake, more alive, quicker. It's like you have speed at your disposal. You're not just this sluggish lump moving from side to side. Feel the lower back. We want that same strength in the lower back. Sense that your tail is sticking backwards. So when we look at the pictures of the old Tai Chi masters and the videos, then it's obvious that they had a different interpretation of bum in than we were given. And I think it's really, it is just that real strength in the lower back. The problem with bum in, if I say to my students, pull your bum in, they just roll their bum under and they look even weaker. So they've made a positional, not just a positional, but they've changed the shape of their spine. And it should be the opposite. The spine should be changing into a sort of arching curve rather than the bowing one. So I'm off the heels and I'm just feeling, it's very much like the peripheral vision, when we're doing this, there's a real sense that something is throbbing away on the outer limits. And that's very much like when you've got the heels up, it's like you're in this different reality. Imagine walking on a trampoline skip, how you'd be really wobbling and heaving, and these rolls of energy would be coming up your body. It's very much like that when you've got the heels up. And then bringing the feet closer together. No weight in the heels. And then up and down. So pulling the chair up in order to bring myself down through the legs. And then pushing down on the chair to bring my body up. So when we use the arms to push and pull, we're normally doing it in order to push and pull the thing that we've got in our hands. Whereas now I'm doing it to move my own body. So it's sort of counterintuitive a little bit. You sort of move in the opposite direction than you were expecting. But by keeping my heels up, I can just remain pretty much vertical all the way down, like in ballet, you know. Now turning the body by pushing with just one hand. So if I push the chair this way and the chair doesn't move, then it will push this hip backwards. And I'll turn to this side. And then I can pull the chair to bring my hip back and just continue pulling to bring myself around to this side. And then pushing the chair. We'll work towards doing it with the heel up. This one's more difficult because it's a bit more wobbly. The advantage of having the chair is that you can use it a little bit as support. Stop yourself from toppling. Yeah, so when the heels are up, it's very much like a sense that you can sort of sink, but without getting heavy. Okay, now let's just try a few more, just going from side to side, just to let the legs relax a bit. Just feel how strong the legs would have to be to live on the front of the foot. I'm always struck, when I see people running without shoes, which is quite popular here now, they just look so light on their feet. So if you're going to run barefoot, you really need good form. you need to know what you're doing, otherwise you're going to really hurt your knees. You see people running with expensive trainers, they can have terrible technique. They can be listening to things in their ear pods, and it just looks terrible. You can see they're doing more harm than good to their mind. And now let's try just sitting and standing. So sitting on the edge of the chair. So this is for the tail, really, this exercise. So what we're going to do is just stand up, but really under control. So you need to bring the feet in a little bit so that you can get your center of gravity over the feet without lurching. And then coming up, there's two stages, one leaning forwards till you get to the point where someone could take the chair away without you falling, and then the head rising to bring the body up. And then just going back down the same way, but really probing with the tail. You do it naturally because we're never quite sure that the chair's there. So it's almost like a sense of panic. My tail really juts back to find the chair. And then once it finds it, there's a sigh of relief, and you can bring the spine up to vertical. Feeling the strength in the lower back. Okay, so let's try again. So leaning forwards. And then once you feel the weight over your feet rather than over the chair, just straighten the legs to bring the head up. So sense that you're leading with the top of the head, almost like the head is being pulled up and then back down. So now it's my tail that's leading. My tail is probing backwards. And then we just want to find ways of making it more difficult. So making it more difficult so that we're forced to bring our attention to the lower back and its absolute necessity. So we're basically just bringing our center of gravity a bit higher. So if you just bring the hands up into prayer, and the same thing, so leaning forwards, just don't look down, and up, and without straightening the legs, back down again. Really probing, wriggling your tail, wriggling your bum to find the chair. And now just bringing the hands a bit higher. So just bringing them, so lacing the fingers and hands on top of the head. And the same thing. So this will really make you feel the lower back. So just be careful. So forwards and up. And down. So it's just basically this squat. It's like an old man's squat. You know, in all the weight training manuals, they all say the same thing. The squat is the most important exercise. So the squat strengthens the legs and the lower back as a unit. They call it a compound exercise. It strengthens not just the quads, but the whole body. No, let's just have the hands up. Same thing. But be careful. And one more. Okay, it's just side to side again. Yeah, so front of the foot. So when we're pulling with the leg, we're basically in the front of the foot. It's like the hand, if you're going to push something really strongly, you push with the heel of the hand. When you pull something, you're pulling with your fingers, really. It's the same with the foot. When I pull, it's the front of my foot, my ball of my foot, my toes. And the heel can actually just come up. And I just want to get into a state of alert vigilance where I could just keep the heels up all the time. So they don't need to go down. And if they do go down, they just touch the ground. They don't squash on it. So the weight doesn't come into the heels really. And just feel the strength in the lower back, the tail sticking out behind you, the thymus being thrust up and out. So off the heels. And now just turning. It's basically the same thing as moving side to side. So you're still using the legs in the same way, but it's a bit more difficult because the head is turning. So you can't use the objects in the room to fix yourself. You just have to let everything go. So I'm trying to keep my heels off the ground as I turn, and it is difficult. So I've only got one student that's able to do this, and she's the oldest by far. She's 83, but she's physically trained her body since she was a teenager every day. So she's the only one that has the strength in just the strength in the legs, but also the strength of character not to get worried when the body starts hurting. And she's sort of naturally bow-legged, because she's just naturally close to the ground. Okay, so let's just try this one, just to ease the legs really. So working with the heels up, it's tiring, not just tiring on the legs, but just tiring on your spirit, because you just need this constant vigilance to stop yourself from losing your balance. But this is the exercise which has generated all this new material. This was the last thing that I remember that was really significant coming to, before I left London. It just came up when me, Charles, and John were just working, and this sort of came up somehow. And so me and Charles just instantly realized, shit, this is important. So we practiced it like mad. And then the next time we all met up, John had completely misinterpreted it. He was very much sort of coming off just doing this, So making it easy by slipping into the foot that's got the heel going down rather than the one that's got the heel coming up. Let's feel the tail. So my tail is free. It can swing around, but also the end of it is open. So a sense that the tail is a bit like a hose and you're spraying like water or energy everywhere. And then there's a sense that it grows. So you have like this long, elegant tail like a cat. So if the tail isn't active and open, then this won't be properly either. You'll have to force this. Let's try the tree with the little animal hiding inside it. So first, just bringing the hands up to the hips, letting them rest upon the hips. So just the weight of the arms is driving the sacrum down into the legs. So that's bum in really. Bum in is just the sacrum doing this. It's not curling the tail under like this. Because if you get the sacrum, the bum, if you get bum in the right way, it's a release down that also allows a release upwards. So both ends of the spine end up moving away from each other or feeling that they are. And then the hands slip down. And now really sticking your bum out. And then just lifting the shoulders, the arms, but without changing the lower back too much. So this is the animal. This is riding horse. It's an interesting thing. If you go around London and just observe all the equestrian statues, all the sort of generals on horseback, they've uniformly got amazing postures. And that's the thing about riding a horse. You've got to have a strong lower back, otherwise all that banging around will just damage you. So they're all proud on their horses. And that's the sense here as well. And then just coming onto the front of the foot, it shouldn't change the posture really at all. It just suddenly makes everything just a little bit more alive. So now you really are in vigilant listening mode. And because the heels are up, you can just go down and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then heel down, but feel it whooshing around the foot. Instead of the heel going down and everything just draining down through it, just get it to squeeze around the front of the foot. And this is outside edge. So bring the heel up when the weight isn't going around the foot. And if you can, keep both heels up all the time. People hate this. They hate having their heels off the ground. So basically, as a rule of thumb, got your heels on the ground, you have an ego. If you've got your heels off the ground, you have spirit. You have speed. You have movement. And then bringing the feet up, but without putting the heels down. It's wobbly. And just feel if you don't have that shake, that wobble, you're half dead or half asleep. Okay, and now let's try just going backwards and forwards. Just with the view of getting into doing it with the heels up. I mean, the legs really get battered with this, so just be careful. I remember when we were in Blakeney and Scaramouche, remember the cat? He used to have a circuit through the house. He'd just go on like a walk and get in all the sort of corners, all the nooks and crannies, go into each room if the door was open, and generally piss everywhere. But like John, he got us to watch him once, and it was like it was the first time. He'd go round totally wide-eyed in wonder, like he'd never done it before. And that's the feeling of the heel being up, like it's the first time every time. It never seems to get any easier. I mean, obviously it does because the sumo guys manage it with no problem. No shy sign of shake at all. we're just trying to sort of just make the body light and porous and transparent. Okay, let's slide the other foot forwards. Again, pulling the balancing mind, the equilibrating mind. It has to be so quick. It's like it's just full of potential, bristling with potential. Let's just try this one again. So it's making sure you really turn with it. Really feeling the activity in the tail and the sacrum. So feel the min mang. The min mang is like the still point in the middle of the spine. Everything beneath it is swinging like this. Everything above it is swinging like this. Okay. And then just riding horse again. Yeah, so when we get it right, it should feel that this area, so the sacrum plus the two hip bones, the pelvis basically, can just sort of float. It can move. It's got real freedom of movement within the space that encloses it. Yeah, so let's just try this. So a hand on each hip, and then just let the two hips, one slips down, one slips up. So the difficulty is the one that goes down because the leg doesn't really want to take it. So having the weight off the heels would just help that. The leg that doesn't have a heel down is more likely to want to bend than the leg with the heel up. So I'm just getting this movement in my tail. We used to do this in Lit Sounds classes, and you used to have a lovely exercise where you'd stand like this, and someone would be here with their hands on this region, and then they would just move it. Yeah, and it was amazing. And now just letting the tail swing back and forth, so sort of pulling your tail under, and then letting it slip back. I don't want to pull the tail under so much that it makes it roll up. Imagine it's a long tail and it's just dragging on the ground. So you're just controlling this area without making it seize up. And just hands to the hips again. And I just feel that, like that move, the possibility of that movement is always there. It's like a natural yielding. You know, if you're pressured, it will actually give. And just let the weight of the arms driving down just push you into the front of the foot. So the heels just naturally come up a little bit. Okay, now let's try just coming into the foot. So that's sort of stepping like a cat thing. So putting the big toe down. So it's basically the figure of 8 in the foot. So going around the heel and then around the front of the foot. So basically doing a complete figure of 8 in the foot in order to complete the process of the weight going into it, which then allows the other leg to come up. So big toe and then around the heel and then around the front of the foot. Feel you can go around the heel without the weight actually going into it. So I go here. So this is like going around the front of the foot just to prepare it. And I go around the heel, but still keeping the heel up, and then around the front of the foot. So what we'd like to be able to do is do this without putting the heel down at all. But obviously the balance is difficult. So you can put the heel down, but still have most of the weight sliding down into the front of the foot. Ty's just had a graduation ceremony, so she got some stilettos, some heels. And that's what it looks like. When they're standing on high heels, it looks like their foot is sliding down into the toe box all the time. It just looks so uncomfortable. But it's that sense here, something we're sliding into the front of the foot. So heel, and then ooh, so I just sink down, and that takes me into the front of the foot. My heel goes down, but only really to give me a little bit of stability. The weight is all in the front of the foot. So every time we move, we're being brought into a leg and towards the ground. So this feeling that you just never push with a leg, because if you do, then you'll push away from the ground effectively. I'm pulling myself around the heel and ooh. It looks great. So you can just feel just how alive your spirit has to be just to keep your balance when you've got the heels up. Imagine the sumo guys. I mean, they can do this with their eyes closed, looking like they're not doing anything. Just imagine just how much power they have. It's what everyone says, when you stand in front of them, they're such lovely, humble people, but they're just overwhelming, their presence. Now let's just lift the knee. Okay. And now let's try just the stepping exercise. And the other foot. Good. And now pulling the foot up behind, trying to get the heel digging in the buttock. And the other side. And then just 1 foot forward and just coming into the front of the foot. Just using the front hand on the sacrum, helping the sacrum forwards and into the front foot. So we're used to sort of just digging in with the heel, so you can just let it slide into the front of the foot. And the leg just feels, so much softer, almost like the sacrum could actually pass through it. So bum in it's just the heavy hand on your sacrum, not heavy in the sense of rough and coarse, heavy in the sense of just gravity, gravitas. There's just something there on your sacrum that's just not allowing you to forget it. It's there all the time, underpinning everything, connecting your legs with your upper body, forcing the root. And the hand on the sacrum is like it gives the sacrum a bit of courage. You can just release this area a bit because you've got that contact, that support, that reality that comes from touch. And it's the same release that helps the sacrum down that opens this and lets this come up and out. This is the thing, without the root, you can't let your energy out, or you can, but it just doesn't go very far. And then the other foot. And, we just feel it, that bum in, so correct posture, in other words. It requires real strength in the body, but above all, it requires strength of character. Just the ability to just stand and be open and be a channel, really. Be this eminently communicating machine. It's not almost like a sense that something is sliding down your back. And then you can feel it like it's sliding under and coming up to the Dan Chen. So normally, when we think of mind in the Dan Chen, there's always a sense that you're sort of looking down on it. It's sort of like something falls down and lands in your Dan Chen. But instead, just think of something sliding down your back and actually coming underneath. So something is right, the mind is rising into the Dan Chen, not dropping into it. And then the muscles underneath here, so the anus, the perineum, the pelvic floor muscles, they really have to be strong to get this sense that you're sucking something up all the time from the ground. So all of this, and we should have been really what we were getting into when we were doing the pressing, in the power class. There's this, it's all strength in the lower back. Because when these muscles are strong, it'll pull your bum in and it will push your sternum up. Okay, so let's just try riding horse again. Feeling the openness here, allowing the two legs to almost fall away from each other. So you're really getting into the outside edges. So you're grabbing the ground, you're hugging the ground. The foot grabs the ground and the 2 feet together grab the ground. Feel the mobility here. And then just let the hands slide down. And looking ahead. So the tail can wiggle. It points behind and then just bring this up. So the tail is still spraying backwards. Doesn't have to be right backwards. It can be sort of back and down, but not directly down, certainly not under, not for this. And then this just comes forwards a little bit, and that brings you off the heels. And as soon as the heels come up, you need a different mind, because now you're wobbling, you don't have the stability anymore. So your mind has to be racing to make sure you don't lose your balance. And then just dropping the elbows. Feel the elbows pulling down towards the dantian. So the dantian becomes the real center. And then feet up, but without putting the heels down. And a great exercise, just walking around on your tiptoes, off your heels. And then just the heels down, but you've still got the weight in the front of the foot. So when the heels go down, there is a sense of, oh, almost like a sigh of relief. Because now you don't need to have that vigilance to keep your balance. But the legs haven't straightened, they haven't locked. They're still wanting to melt, wanting to go down towards the ground. But we try a bit with the stick just to cool down. bring it up. Just a few turning. Pulling and pushing. And just bring in a bit of twisting. let's just do a little bit of just hands-on, so rubbing the hands. And then hands slowly, carefully, deliberately on the knees. Just feel the attention creeping up towards the sacrum. And then the hands onto the either side of the sacrum. And then just a little bit higher onto the kidneys. And then just the back of the head. And then round to the temples. And then let's rub the hands again through the eyes. And the eyes. Then the hands up and out. And then just a bit of movement to stimulate the peripheral vision. And we'll just about see this movement. And then if you close your eyes, it's as though you can still see it, because the mind will just build a visual image from the feelings it's receiving. And then let's just trace the rim. And then plucking the thread from the top of the head. And round to the breath. And now just do a couple of just using the lower back belly to go into prayer and then back down. So arching back a little bit, bringing strength into the lower back to get the arms to go out. And then bringing a bit of strength to the belly to bring the hands together. And then just releasing both of those to let the hands drop. So there's a sense that there's energy is flowing down the arms and out of the hands here. And then the strength in the belly pulls it back. The lower back, this is like the attack, sending energy out. And then the belly, this like the yield, drawing things in towards us. And then we just relax and lengthen the spine as the hands drop. So we're not used to using the muscles, the muscles in the lower back and the belly strongly, largely because we never really need to do anything vigorous and strenuous. So let's just try one more. And it's as though you're really trying with the back, like it's really difficult. Imagine you're lifting something really heavy. And then you have to use those belly muscles because you just won't have enough strength in your arms. And one more. Back. And belly. And then let's just bring one hand behind and one hand up to here. So the hand behind just resting on your sacrum area, just helping it down, and this hand helping it up. People like this. Okay, right. It's such a lovely shape, this, isn't it? It's interesting. I mean, when we have the hands down here, you can really feel that everything's gathering into the danchan. And the hands up here, it's gathering in the heart or the head, but it requires strength. It's not just a postural thing, it requires strength in the back, in the character, to actually open the heart and the head properly.